Hello there, I'm Josh from Audiophile-Heaven, and this is my video review of the HIFIMAN RE800 Silver. This is the silver edition of the RE800. There was a gold edition as well. This is the silver one. You can see the specifications here. This is the package. Nice package, pretty large, as you can see here. So let's open it. So this is the package. I actually have them in their basic carrying case. This is a pretty basic carrying case they come with. Not the most fancy one, but it can do its job well. They come with a number of accessories. Ear hooks, as you can see here. Tips, a very large number of tips, but nothing very special, like no glamour with the tips. You might have expected them to come with something like spin fit. I would suggest purchasing spin fit for them if you could. This is the HIFIMAN little booklet, as you can see here. This is their booklet about RE800. So this have an interesting technology inside. HIFIMAN calls it the topology diaphragm driver. It is a single dynamic driver. I actually am a fan of earphones using dynamic drivers. And here is the little warranty card that comes with RE800. Now, this is the carrying case they come with. It is very basic, but it does the job very well. It provides a good amount of support for them, and those are the IEMs themselves. They have a fairly long cable. The cable is fairly good quality. This is the jack, single-ended, 3.5mm gold-plated jack. And those are the in-ears themselves. Very good design, very small. They are quite small. They're made of metal. I don't know if this is metal. Very high quality. They feel very high quality actually. And their build is very small. They do not have detachable cables, as you can see here. The cables are attached to them. I wish they had detachable cables. That would have been fairly nice. But I trust the cables will not break very soon, so you will not really require detachable cables for them. Having aftermarket cables, though, would have been nice. I know a lot of people like to purchase aftermarket cables. Now the sound, these sound very nice. They are much more universal than the original. The original RE800 Gold was very sharp and had a very specific sound. It worked very well with acoustic music, but didn't work quite so well with everything else. Those work well with pretty much any type of music, including metal, death metal, electronic, dubstep, pretty much everything a normal human will listen to. I would not really recommend those with classical. I would not recommend them with jazz because they are V to U shaped, so the bass is a little forward, the treble is a little forward. They are pretty bright. I am not sure if jazz or classical listeners are looking for this type of sound. On the other hand, those are probably the most comfortable, or if not, they are one of the most comfortable in-ears I have ever used because they are very small, as you can see here. Very, very small bodies, so they sit very nicely in your ears. The board size is also fairly small, so you can use very small tips. This is the tip, so they are very, very, very comfortable. I recommend them a lot for comfort, for long hours of listening. The cables are not microphonic, which is nice, so you can jog with them, you can run with them. The cables are not overly tangle prone. They do not tangle very much. They require a good source, but not the most expensive source you can have. I mean, they sound lovely out of this one. the XD10 from X-Duo. I use them a lot together, and I would say this drives them very well. Very, very well, actually. I would recommend this as the main source for driving them. I mean, the minimum. This is the minimum. I would not drive them with something cheaper or less good. It is just not worth it. They are, I don't know, $600 or so. So this does them a favor. Do not try to use them with a less expensive source or less good source if you want to take full advantage of them. Of course, they would sound much better out of the Brooklyn DAC Plus from Mytech. This actually has a better sound with them, but of course this costs about $2,000, so it's normal. It sounds a bit better with them. Of course, they scale well with source. Something like iBasso DX200 will do wonders for them, but I don't know, they sound good out of this one and something in the $200 to $300 price range. Now, those do not have driver flex, which is wonderful. I mean, really wonderful. HIFIMAN includes a little ventilation holy hole here at the, as you can see here. So basically, these do not have driver flex, which is wonderful because a lot of in-ears have driver flex when they rely on a single dynamic driver. So you will not be getting driver flex out of those. Now, how do they compare with other in-ears? So I have Campfire Atlas on my table at this moment. I will provide the link to my official review of the Atlas, which I just reviewed. I also reviewed this guy, and I will provide the link to the written review, in-depth review. My video work is not quite as in-depth as my written work, but anyways, Campfire Atlas is much more expensive, over twice the price of RI800. And actually, I was talking about driver flex. Atlas is actually having a bit of driver flex for some people. Amazingly, I figured after I posted the review that I do not have driver flex with Atlas, even with the final tips they come with in the package. Those are the final tips they come in the package with those, and I have no driver flex using the final tips included in the package, but some people do. So I left my review as it is. They may have driver flex for some people, so it's fair to mention it. Now, Atlas is much more bassy than RI800 is. Compared to them, those Atlas sounds much more grand, much more impressive, much more huge, while RI800 sounds more analytical, better controlled. If I was to make a choice, it would really depend on the kind of music I was listening to. Atlas has more details, of course, but they are much more expensive, so I would expect more details out of Atlas. RI800 has a very, very good amount of details for their price, which is incredibly good. I mean, I really appreciate a good price-performance ratio. Now, Atlas can also be driven by this little guy, and I recommend them together. But Atlas is favored by a more expensive source and a brighter source. Here is where Brooklyn DAC Plus comes in handy. This is a slightly brighter source, so Atlas will work much better with the Brooklyn than the XD10, while HIFIMAN RE800 works wonderful with both. You do not have to invest a lot in a source for RE800, I mean $300, considering they are $600 themselves, so RE800 Silver is wonderful with almost any source, while Atlas will require a slightly more expensive source to reach their best potential. Now, other things you might want to be keeping in mind when purchasing RI800 are that those are not comfortable with the original tips they come with. Those will require aftermarket tips. I mean, they do not come with final tips. They do not come with spin fit tips. They do not come with comply even. They come with multi-flanged tips, which hurt my ears typically, so I would not recommend multi-flanged tips. I always recommend single flanged tips, regardless of the company. I do not have good comfort with SpinFit or none other company that have multi-flanged tips. So please keep in mind to get a pair of $10 SpinFit tips or Mandarin tips. Any tips that you usually have good comfort with will work with those. Those are the universal board size, so they work very, very well with anything really, as far as tips go. So yeah, aftermarket tips are a must. A decent source is a must, but otherwise those are very easy to recommend to many people because of their comfort, of their good detail, of their rather, I don't know, it's V-shaped, U-shaped, but it's also fairly neutral. It's not extremely V-shaped or extremely U-shaped. The sound of RE800 will work for most people just fine. They will not feel too bright nor too bassy. They feel pretty right. The mid-range has a very natural presentation. I really like the tonality they have. The detail is very nice. The soundstage is actually larger than you would expect from such a small in-ear. They are small, as you can see here, very, very tiny, but they have a fairly large soundstage. Good instrument separation. Those are a much better purchase at this moment than the IA800 from Sennheiser. The HIFIMAN RE800 Silver is much, much, much better than the IA800 from Ultrason from Sennheiser, as the IA800 from Sennheiser is very uncomfortable. Those can be comfortable, that one from Sennheiser cannot, because IA800 uses proprietary tips, so you cannot use SpinFit or any other type of tips. Those go well with SpinFit, so for $10 you can turn them into very, very comfortable headphone in-ears. Well, IA800 from Sennheiser cannot be made more comfortable. So you should keep that in mind. I hope my review, or rather video, is useful to you. I hope you have enjoyed watching this video. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe if you liked my video, and check the links in the description, as I will leave links to other reviews which were made for the products mentioned in this review, like this little guy or the Atlas. I hope you have a lovely weekend there, and I hope to see you soon.